views expressed on this program are not those of intellectualradio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It is Health and Wellness Monday, and our topic for today is the effects of stress on your body. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from Roman with the Drive at 5. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. Last week, we talked about a survivor's journey, and our special guest was Loretta Pinkerton. And if you missed that episode, you can go over to YouTube and type in Intellectual Radio so that you can stay up to date. The quote of the day is, "If the problem can be solved, why worry? If the problem cannot be solved, worrying will do you no good." We are grateful for our sponsors. We have Gloria Dotson with Mary Kay, Paula Kelly with Allstate, and Pastor Michael Richardson from the Emanuel C.O.G.I.C, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson, and we're from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Amen. Make sure that you go over and check them out every Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. Here are your trending topics for today. Americans woke up Friday to news to yet another mass shooting, this time at a FedEx facilities in Indianapolis, where 8 people were killed late Thursday. By the end of the weekend, at least 9 more people had died from gun violence. Back-to-back shootings across the country in Illinois, Texas, Wisconsin, Ohio, Nebraska, and Louisiana. At least 10 more people were wounded. Since March 16, when 8 people were killed and 1 wounded in shootings at 3 Atlanta area spas, at least 50 mass shootings were reported in the United States. The United States faced not just the COVID-19 pandemic, but gun violence epidemic as well. Also trending, a 7-year-old girl was killed in a shooting in Chicago on Sunday afternoon, and it also left a 29-year-old man seriously injured. The girl was struck multiple times and taken to the hospital where she was reported dead. The man was hit in the torso and is hospitalized in serious condition. The shooting is under investigation and no one is in custody. Those are your trending topics for today. If you are tuning in on any form of social media, like, share the show, invite somebody else in on the show so that they can get this information. My special guest is none other than our healthy solution expert with over 20 years experience as a family physician, impacting lives every day. Hello, Doc Michelle.
Hello, Lady ReShell. How are you today? Can you hear me?
I'm good. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm excited about the show. I'm excited about the topic today. I know that every one of us can relate to the effects of stress on your body, especially with everything going on with COVID-19. And I just read in the trending topics of these mass shootings that have been going on as well.
Yes, as you were reading it, I felt like my blood pressure was going up, right? And I was starting to feel that stress. And that's one of the things that majority of Americans say causes stress is the state of the nation, the state of the world right now. But yeah, I mean, stress is something that we can all relate to. We've all been under an increased amount of stress over the last 12 months. But, you know, stress can be good and stress can be bad, right? So stress is your body's sort of natural reaction to some challenge, or either emotional or physical. When you get that challenge, your heart rate increases, blood goes to your muscles and to your brain. And that's all good, right? I had a presentation today at work, and so I was a little nervous about it. That's a little bit of a stress. You can feel your heartbeat a little bit, and you get a little queasy in your stomach, but then it passes. That's good. That's a good stress, because it allows us to be more focused and get the job done, when we're in school or college or at work. But the problem becomes when we're under this chronic stress, right? And I know you've got some great statistics on that, but it's the chronic stress that we feel every day that causes the sustained, blood pressure rising, stress hormones in our bodies, the inflammatory response that occurs internally that causes the long-term effects of stress.
It says about 33% of people report feeling extreme stress, and 77% of people experience stress that affects their physical health, and 73% of people have stress that actually impacts their mental health. It says regardless of your age, your sex, your ethnicity, or your religion, no one is immune to stress.
No one is immune. And even the statistics that you speak of, saying about 3/4 of people say it affects their physical or mental health. And those are the people who are reporting it, right? Because there's a lot of people who may not even acknowledge that what they feel is stress, because the stress has become the norm and for them, and they don't really think it's much different than anything. And then some people just underreport it, because what we do is we want to just, charge ahead and do what we're supposed to do, and not say, I'm not stressed, I'm fine. And, we know that, as you said, anybody can be impacted by stress. The causes of stress, work, finances, relationships, being a caregiver. I mean, all of those things affect us, and we can all sort of relate to that, but it's what we do about it when we're in those situations.
Dr. Michelle, do you think some people become immune to stress to where they really don't know that they're stressed? It's just a part, because they've been functioning like that for so long, it just becomes a part of their routine. And is that even healthy?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that at some level, right, we all adapt to the situation that we're in. If we think even about, all the things you read before we started about the shootings and where those neighborhoods are and the circumstances under which those folks live, you almost have to adapt to it, quote, adapt to it in order to survive every day, right? Doesn't mean that it's not causing those physical things that we mentioned that can happen, right? We know that physically, when you're stressed, you can become more irritable and short-tempered. You can not sleep as well. We know that your blood pressure goes up. So there are things that happen that you try to say, oh, it doesn't bother me. But some of these things are happening anyway, because the adrenaline and the cortisol levels are high in our bodies, because we're living under that state.
So stress is a natural part of our physical and mental being, in the way that we react to it. The only time that we really should worry about it is if we're continuously being under stress.
Yeah, because I mean, again, there's some good stresses, right? The fight or flight, if you're in a situation where you need that adrenaline rush to make a quick decision, good stress like being on a roller coaster or skiing, so there's good stress. And that helps us to be able to perform and produce and do the things we need to do to get through our day. But it's the sustained sort of underlying chronic stress that can make people have these other problems. We talked about sleep, headaches, GI upset. People can get ulcers from chronic stress because of how it affects the acid production in your stomach. And so you start to realize that emotional stress can lead to physical symptoms. And that's one of the things that we as physicians have to address with our patients too, right? We might see the end result of the stress, but how do we address those causes and help our patients to see that when you're feeling that way, when you know that you're more irritable, or are you sleeping less, or are you drinking more alcohol? What are the signs for you that show that you are under more stress so that you can do some things about it before you get to that point?
Do you see, Dr. Michelle, are you able to just look at somebody and say, oh, that person looks stressed? Or is it more of an internal thing, or both?
Yeah, well, sometimes stress can have outward manifestations for sure, right? I mean, the simple thing is we can look at someone's countenance, how they look, and see, are they happy? Are they frowned? Do they look upset, right? There are many times I can see a patient walking through the door and tell whether they're upset or not, right? And I have to address that. You seem upset or stressed today, and I will certainly bring that up. So that we know that stress and inflammation can even make acne worse, psoriasis, skin conditions. So there's lots of outward manifestations of stress, but even that, the internal, the high blood pressure, the risk of stroke, the inflammation that leads to diabetes, those things are even more concerning to us.
Wow. The stress sounds, it's really serious. I mean, when you think about it, I think some people feel like, I'll just sleep it off, or I'll just relax right here. But it's more than that. It's more than just that one time of you relaxing. So it's a lifestyle.
It is lifestyle. And part of what do we do to help manage stress, right? So over the last year, we've all been living under a high stress situation, added on top of the normal stresses that we have in our days, right? So how can we mindfully say, I know I need to do certain things to make myself feel better, right? So for me, like we were talking before the show started, that I'm having a lot of stress at work. One of the things that can cause stress, I know for me, exercise helps me. So after the show, I'm going to get on my elliptical for 30 minutes. The other thing that helps is walking. We know that walking 30 minutes a day at least can help your stress level, lower blood pressure. If you can do it outside and get the sunshine and the vitamin D, it helps to lower your stress level. So we have to really be mindful about, okay, if I know I've been real irritable and I'm not sleeping very well, and I'm reaching for a glass of wine more, I'm drinking more, I'm fighting more with my loved one, what can we do to decrease that? First of all, it's making a plan and saying, I know that I'm stressed out. Okay, what will make me feel better? And being okay with that. What will make me feel better? Is it going outside for 10 minutes? Is it a mindful meditation app? Those things are great, right? We know a minute of meditation, deep breathing, taking those 10 seconds to just count to 10, deep breath, can help to lower your stress level and lower your blood pressure.
I found that like once I exercise, then I take about 5 minutes when I'm done to kind of like wind down or cool down, and I meditate for those 5 minutes. And I don't know, it just works for me really well. When I had my annual appointment about a month ago, and my doctor mentioned meditating. She was like, try meditating. It'll help, calm your nerves and just put you in a good state. So I was like, oh, okay. Like how many doctors recommend meditating?
Right. And we think of, I've got to have 20 minutes or whatever to meditate. I mean, meditating is essentially just sitting still, right? Sitting still, close your eyes, take some deep breaths in and out, relax your muscles, because we don't realize that we hold, like, our jaws could be clenched. Our tongue is not relaxed, it's the top of our mouth. I mean, little things. And when you start to do that and you just make yourself relax from the top down, you feel so much better. Your blood pressure goes down, those cortisol and adrenaline levels start to go down, and you feel better. And you're physically making a better change internally because you've gotten rid of those high stress hormones in your body. And over time, we as Americans, we live a high stress life, and we don't necessarily take time for those things, right? That are, because we feel like they're, quote, guilty pleasures, but they're important to our overall holistic health. So take the time to do that,
It's important. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are just tuning in, we are talking about the effects of stress on your body on Intellectual Radio. I have Doc Michelle here, who is our healthy solution expert. So, hey, Brenda, she said, hey, ladies, I am here. So thank you for tuning
Brenda.
in. We're talking about how you can combat this stress. We know that stress is a part of our life. We have good stress, we have bad stress, but how are you maintaining as it relates to stress so that you won't have these issues? Because sometimes when if you have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, you have heart disease, and you're stressed, it can make those things worse. So we're talking about what you can do to keep that stress under control, because we know that we will have stress. I had a question, Dr. Michelle, about mental health. Being stressed out, does that contribute to mental issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you are continually under stress, it can, over time, lead you to then feel depressed and anxious. And if you are feeling really stressed, and that stress is ongoing, you're into months and you're still feeling really stressed, then first of all, you can talk to your provider, who mentioned meditation to you. But yes, that ongoing stress can certainly cause people to feel depressed and anxious, which then also affects their ability to function with their family, on the job. I was reading a statistic that depression and anxiety over annually can lead to $190 billion in lost wages and productivity, just at work and at home, and just being able to function. And we think, I think we've talked about depression on your show before, right? And people think they can just will themselves out of it, right? But long-term depression changes our chemical makeup in the brain, how the neurons fire and the chemicals get passed around, right? Dopamine and serotonin and all that. So that said, ask for help if you're feeling sad, blue, and those symptoms are going on for months, right? That can mean that you do need help, either someone to talk to. Part of dealing with stress is talking about it. Find friends, find a therapist, talk to your doctor. We don't have to, speaking of mental health, be in shame for feeling that way, because many, many people have the same symptoms that you do.
Awesome. Tonil said great information, because stress can definitely have some negative effects. We know that stress has been called the silent killer, because I think a lot of people sometimes don't even know that they're stressed, or maybe we're just not paying attention, like I said before, because we're so used to operating that way that, it becomes our norm until, it's not our norm anymore. And we go to the doctor and they're like, you're stressed, or these things are coming because you're stressed. You mentioned about how your brain changes. So that was one of my questions, how your brain changes because you're stressed. Does it also affect your memory?
Absolutely, absolutely. When we're stressed out, we become more forgetful. You can't concentrate. And I've had patients who are caregivers to elderly parents. And because of the stress of that, they're feeling like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm coming and going. I can't remember, what I was supposed to do. I can't concentrate at work. All of those things are manifestations of stress. And those are the things we have to sort of be aware of, right? And sometimes it helps to talk to others, because even just talking to friends, they may have had similar experiences and say, hey, yeah, that's happened to me too. You should really talk to your doctor, or have you, tried meditation? Let's go for a walk. Now that it's nice, it's not too nice today in Chicago, but now the spring is coming, take the time to get outside. I say the sunshine and the vitamin D is our natural elixir, makes us feel good, right? You get the blood flowing. But you're right, forgetfulness, decreased concentration, insomnia, all those things are part of the stress manifestation.
Talk about the digestive system when it comes to stress.
Yeah. So it can disrupt the digestive system either one or two ways, right? You can have diarrhea, you can have constipation, or as we talked about, you can have an ulcer because it increases the acid production, in your stomach. And people will come in all the time and tell me about, they just have heartburn, and I'll dig a little deeper, do an exam, press on the belly, and find out that they could have peptic ulcer disease. And yes, we can give you medication to help heal an ulcer. But again, if you have the ongoing chronic stress, it's hard to cure that, right? Because you're still in that situation. But it certainly can. We know that when we have acute stress with the GI system, that right, you get a rumbly, you get butterflies, things like that happen, just in the short term acute stress. But in the chronic stress, it can lead to, irritable bowel, where you have bouts of constipation, bouts of diarrhea, upset stomach, because again, you are releasing inflammatory markers, when you're stressed, and we don't realize that stress affects all parts of the body, from your heart to your stomach, to your brain. I mean, all parts can be affected. And we need to understand that it's okay to acknowledge that we're stressed out, but now that we, as you say, we have to move to action.
Yes.
What are we going to do about it? It's all great information, but what do we do now?
What about the sexual reproductive system when you're stressed out?
Yeah, because stress can cause constriction of blood vessels, which decreases blood flow, right? And that's happening pretty much in any organ, right? Heart, brain, sexual organs. There's some thought that in women, the high stress can even lead to uterine fibroids, right? We know that we talked about this on a previous show, that African-American women tend to be more at risk for uterine fibroids. And I think we were talking earlier that minorities and women are also more at risk for stress. So again, the emotional stresses and what it does to your internal organs are linked. And same thing for men, it can lead to erectile dysfunction because of decreased blood flow, risk of, do you now have high blood pressure, which it can also be at risk. Stress, because it increases the cortisol levels, can cause you to overeat, which then leads to obesity, which then leads to diabetes. And so it's really can be a vicious cycle, and we have to catch it at what's the root cause, right? What's the root cause of the medical illness? And a lot of times it starts with our lifestyle, what we put in our bodies, do we exercise, and our stress.
So I was just looking at, and I know you mentioned the top causes of stress for those of you who are just tuning in. We have money, we have work, we have the economy, we have family responsibilities, relationship, personal health issues, housing costs, job stability, family health problems, and personal safety. So those are the top causes of stress.
Yeah, and I can pretty much be certain that everybody has had stress from one of those 10 things that you've listed. And then you said the personal safety. We talked about all the shootings and things, right? People are living in these everyday situations that causes stress and their ability to really take good care of themselves because they are worried about their safety. Maybe they're worried about going outside to even get exercise, going to the doctor, and now they're living in this stressful situation, which may be causing them to have high blood pressure and things that they need to see a doctor. And then, they're living in communities that are economically disadvantaged. You mentioned economics. So they are many, we call these social determinant factors of health, which are where you live, work, and play affects your health. And I always say that what I do in the office, writing a prescription, is 20% of what makes you healthy. And they've done studies on that. The social determinants of health is 80% of what truly incorporates your health, right? So where you work, where you live, do you have access to food? Can you get to the doctor? Do you have walkability in your neighborhood? Those are the things that really affect your health. I was just reading an article that said when they take people who live in low economically disadvantaged communities and simply move them, nothing else changed, move them to a better community. It don't have to be great, better community. They do better. They follow them and they don't have as much high blood pressure and diabetes and obesity. Because guess what? They probably have grocery stores close by. They probably have a walkable area, sidewalks. I mean, there's so many things that beyond what happens in the exam room affects our health. Those are the things that really need to be addressed economically, politically, in our communities to really impact health on a greater level. But I digress. But really, where you live and the circumstances you live under affect your health.
I totally agree, especially about the grocery store. Like even the food just being not, you want fruits that are fresh and they're not, all the way ripe before you go to the store, or the milk is a day before it's getting ready to be spoiled. So that's really important. I totally agree. Robbie Jones said so true, and Kenya said yes and still have it. So if you guys are loving this information and it is helping you in any way, shape, or form, please share it out with somebody and allow them to get this information. Again, we're talking about the effects of stress on your health with Dr. Michelle. And we just got done talking about just having the information and the food in your area to where, you're able to get healthy foods. You're able to go to the doctor, and the facilities is right there, and you're not really going out of your neighborhood. And not only that they have the things that you need once you get there. They have the equipment that you need to treat you, because that's important too. Not having to send you somewhere and you're waiting a month or two before you even go and get those things done. So that's important too, is to have those things in your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to mention about the people who tend to be stressed, because I know we mentioned this earlier. It talks about the minorities, women, single parents, and people who are responsible, that are taking care, that are caregivers, taking care of other people in their family. And I think that's because we're, aside from the minority part, because I think what you just talked about covers that, about the neighborhood and the grocery store and the food and all of that. But women, because we tend to take care of other people before we take care of ourselves, even the single parent, it's like you're doing two jobs in a way, and then when you're taking care of other people, you putting yourself on the back burner and you really not taking care of yourself. It's like you really kind of wait until you break down before you even go to the doctor to do something for yourself, because you're so concerned with the person that you're taking care of.
Yeah. And in the era of the pandemic, when we were all homeschooling, okay, and taking care of others, okay, it was even worse. I'm lucky my kids, are teenagers, but I cannot imagine what it's like to even from we talked about women, from a woman's standpoint, to take care of the kids, try to homeschool third graders and fifth graders or whatever, and still be able to do the things that you need to do, right? Take care of yourself, your home, cook dinner, take care of the children. So that in itself, because we do as women tend to take on a lot, especially the caregiver role, which, as I said, in the pandemic, we were caring for parents and our children all day, can really, really cause a lot of stress. And sometimes for caregivers, because I'm a caregiver for my elderly mother, it can be stressful, and it can feel like you're always doing for others, but you don't have time to do for yourself. So that is why, for me, I have to, when I'm starting to feel stressed, I have to talk to my friends, my husband. He's like, "You're a little stressed out." So, and he recognizes that. I'm like, "Yeah, you might be right." Right. And I have to do what I need to do to feel better, right? To lower it and be observant. That's one of the things we talk about, how to manage your stress. Be observant of your own behavior, right? Sometimes we don't see it in ourselves, but if you know that you've had a busy, hard day, hard week, acknowledge that and say, "You know what? I need to take some time for me." What does that mean, right? Does it mean I go to that exercise class? Does it mean I get on a treadmill? Does it mean I walk outside if you have a safe neighborhood to do so? Listen to music. I mean, there's lots of things that you can do to lower your stress that don't take extra money. As you know, a lot of where I practiced was in underserved areas in poorer communities. I can't tell, all my patients to just, go to the spa or whatever, right? But we have to figure out, how do we incorporate activities even when that don't cost money to help lower your stress, right? And that's why I loved when you said meditate. You can sit in a quiet room by yourself and just close your eyes, okay? Count to 10, breathe in and breathe out. And you will be amazed, because the times that I do it, when I recognize, oh boy, I'm stressed, and you start to feel the tension leave your body. So I challenge anybody that listens to the show to do that. Make that one thing that you take away from here. We talk about moving to action, right? Be observant of how you feel. And when you feel that way, take time to either just take a minute to meditate and relax. You can find apps. You can find it, anywhere on your phone. Just put on your stopwatch on your phone and just do it for 1 minute, and be observant of yourself, so you can do for you what helps to lower your stress level.
I totally agree. I do, excuse me, I do YouTube, and I just type in 5-minute meditation, and I just sit there, and you don't even have to think about it, or you don't necessarily have to time it. It does it for you, and it'll tell you when it's done. It'll say, "Open your eyes."
Yes. And I like Kenya's statement here on Facebook, that she says, "That sounds good, but what if you don't have a quiet place to go in your house?" So true, because if you are home with the kids and everybody now, and they're the ones that are stressing you out, and you don't have any place to go, right? There's one place that you can go by yourself. Where's that? The bathroom. Okay. And even going there, I'm so serious, I'll tell patients, just go to the bathroom, your eyes are closed. Okay. Anyway, that's the true meditation. And just take a minute. If you have to step outside, if you can step outside for 5 minutes to get the sunshine, to take that deep breath. We know that if possible, being in nature helps to lower your stress level, right? So being outside, right? If you're able, these again are things that don't cost money. If there's a a trail or something by you if you can get out, right? Go and do that. But make yourself a priority to help lower stress level. You have to plan it. If I don't plan it, plan my workouts, plan what I'm going to do for me, I can think of 100 other things that we can do, right? Because that's what we do. We can think of 100 other things to do besides taking care of ourselves. Like I said, I'm going to get on my elliptical after the show, but I certainly could
Okay.
find something else to do. Yeah, Kenya,
Kenya.
then Kenya, you're going to have to just say no, right? Be okay with saying no, and then leave your home if you can, especially if your husband's home.
Okay. Kenya said the kid's knocking on the bathroom door and her husband is calling her. You know what I do, Kenya? As soon as I pull up to my house, I stay in the car for like 30 minutes. I don't even let nobody know that I made it home. I stay in the car for 30 minutes. And I could be just listening to the radio, or I could just be strolling through Facebook, or whatever I'm doing, that's my time. You know, I'm not at work and they calling me to do stuff. I'm not at home and people calling me. I'm just in that car for 30 minutes. And then I get out and go in the house and I'm ready to deal with people. So you might have to take a walk, Kenya, or I don't know, go to the grocery store by yourself. That's, you know, they have to allow you to have that time so that you can be able to not only take care of yourself, but, you know, take care of them as well, and not be snapping at them because, you know, you're stressed out. And they have to understand that as well. Give me my time.
Yeah, I remember I was working a really stressful job, and it had come to the point that before I would go into work, I would sit in the parking lot for about 5 minutes. I would car off, close my eyes, take a deep breath, get my mind right, you know, meditate. And I could tell you I would walk in and feel better. And I don't know how long it would last me because the job was driving me nuts. But I would do that. I would do that, and I would feel so much better. So you make a good point. A lot of people love being in their car by themselves. That's another opportunity to listen to music, listen to jazz, listen to something that's sort of relaxing, listen to the meditation, right? The positive reinforcement, positive affirmations also help to lower your stress. So use your car ride if you commute, or use the bus ride with your earphones in to listen to things that help you.
Dr. Michelle, is stress prematurely aging us?
Yes, because again, right, we said that what does it do to your internal system? We know people, we all can probably think of people who have aged very well. I remember a patient of mine, I think she was in her 80s, and she looked so great. She would always have a smile. And I think the only thing she had was genetically predisposed high cholesterol. And I said, what do you do? How do you do it? Right? You're in your 80s. You look great. You don't seem stressed. She says, I walk a mile every day. Okay. She says, I drink lemon water. She was telling me her little things, right? And she would exercise. And so for her, it was what helped her. And we also know people who have been on the other side of things, right? That they look older than their stated age because all of the things that we mentioned, right? Be it, you know, I frown a lot, and so now I have more wrinkles, the outward expression of the stress, or that now because of all those things we talked about, ReShell, right? If you're stressed, now it increased your cortisol, which made your appetite up, and now you're obese, and you live in a neighborhood, right, that doesn't have the things that you need to take care of yourself, and all of that together, absolutely, can cause premature aging. You know, and we already know about, you know, the high blood pressure, stroke risk.
So I don't know if my next question, it might be already answered. Is stress a choice?
It is a choice in some ways, right? Because our body's natural mechanism is, certain situations make us feel stress. You get, you know, heart rate and all of that. But how we respond to it, right? How do we respond to that stress? Is this a short-term acute stress reaction because of something short-lived? Think about being in an accident, right? You're in an accident. That's not a choice. It just, it happened. The adrenaline and all that got going. It was a stressful event. Now that short-term event could become chronic stress if it now causes us to feel worried about getting in a car. If, something happens, you got a medical issue from it. Now you're living with this chronic stress. But again, how we respond to the stress, because stress is going to be everywhere in our lives, right? We can make things not feel as stressful to us is how we react to certain things, right? We know that bad things will come in your lives, but how we react and respond to it can lower your stress level or the perception of stress.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about some of these myths as it relates to stress. And so this is one of my things that I really want to know. So the first myth is stress causes cancer.
Oh, no, it doesn't cause cancer. I don't know any studies that say it causes cancer. There's so many other determinants that cause cancer, like what we put in our bodies. And then sometimes we just don't know predisposition, genetically, family history.
Okay, it did say psychological stress can't by itself cause a disease. So the next one is practice self-care to manage stress.
Practice self-care to manage your stress. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. That's key, right? We talked about stress is going to come, but it's our reaction to it and taking care of ourselves in any way we can, from talking to your friends, talking to a professional, calling a helpline, anything that we can do. Make sure that you're seeing your provider once a year at least, or more often if you have already stress-related conditions, right? So because you mentioned the silent killer, high blood pressure, which can be a result of stress, but you have no idea that you have it unless somebody's checking your blood pressure. If you're not going to a provider, you will never know that until it's too late and you have a stroke or a heart attack.
The third myth as it relates to stress is tried and true stress relieving strategies work for everyone.
Say that again.
Tried and true stress relieving strategies work for everyone.
Depends on what works for you, right? You have to know what you enjoy doing, what works for your stress level. Kenya would have to use different tactics to help lower her stress level, because if the kids are calling and the husband's calling, you have a lot of things pulling at you. But there are certain things that we know can help reduce your stress, like we said, meditation, exercise, things like that. Positive affirmations, even we talked about. Positive self-talk, yeah.
Yes. Okay, wait a minute. Kenya said, I don't agree with that.
Part?
Which part? Type it in there really quick. The next myth is you won't be able to overcome the stress of a disease diagnosis.
You won't be able to overcome the stress? Oh, you can. You can, right? We know, and you've been through, horrible diagnoses, and we know that how we react to those things, and the support that you have, and what you surround yourself with really helps. People talk about the power of positive thinking, but that is true. When you think positively about whatever you're undergoing or how you react to it is what makes it either a high stressor, worse, or not so much. She agrees with me?
Yeah, I think she might have made a mistake. Okay. So the next myth as it relates to stress, it says you can always tell when someone is stressed.
You can. We talked about there's external signs of stress, but it's also important that if you feel stress, that you verbalize it and talk to someone about it, right? Because when you keep it inside, it only becomes, we talk about it festers, it only becomes worse, because that, if you can talk to a professional, even better, to give you the tools to manage stress, to look at a situation differently. But yeah, sometimes we can externally see when someone might be stressed, right? When they're having a bad day, right? She said it can show all over your face and your body. We can see that, but it's also important to verbalize it and talk to someone, and so you can look at a situation differently, and see that maybe it's not as bad as it is, or how do we deal with it where it is.
Okay, number 6 is if you sleep, exercise, and eat right, you won't be stressed.
If you sleep, exercise, and eat right, you will feel better, and you will probably be healthier. Stresses will come. So yes, you won't be as stressed. Think about, we talked before on this show about adequate sleep being 7 to 8 hours. Sleep is the first thing to go when we're stressed and have things to do, and we've got a million things to do. We go on 3-4 hours of sleep, and we think we're doing just fine. But again, it releases those hormones. So when you're sleeping well, when you put the right foods in your body, and when you exercise, all of those things can help lower your stress level. Absolutely.
Awesome. Number 7 is stress causes ulcers.
Well, we talked about that, right? That stress can lead to peptic ulcers. Emotional symptoms can lead to physical problems. Even when people say she died of a broken heart, right? Because when you're so upset and stressed, we already talked about it, it increases your blood pressure, constricts the blood vessels, causes inflammation in your body. And then all those other things, are you so depressed you're not eating? I mean, right? So all of that can be a cascade of events that lead to these physical things. But yes, you hear about stress ulcer in the layman's term, but yeah, stress can lead to peptic ulcers.
Oh, Willie Gray says, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for tuning in.
You're welcome, Willie.
Yes, if you guys are blessed by this information that Dr. Michelle is giving out, please share with someone that you love. I guarantee you that you're not the only one who's feeling stressed or have felt stressed. So number 8, as it relates to stress, myths are, once you feel stressed, there is nothing you can do about it from keeping it from getting worse.
Absolutely not, right? It's all in your hands, right? But we have to be observant. We have to acknowledge that this norm is not normal. I always think about, like you said, the people who are living in neighborhoods where, they can't walk outside and there's, shootings and things, right? That's the norm. And they live under a constant state of stress, and they may not be able to change their situation. But under most circumstances, how you react to something is what causes the increased stress level, right? So again, like that car accident, that could be a short-term stress. Oh my goodness, I was in an accident. But then if we are always worried about it or afraid to get in the car now because of the accident, or it causes medical illness, then it becomes a chronic thing. But there's a lot that we can do to help lower our stress level that we talked about.
So we do have some control over this. Number 9 is alcohol can stop you from stressing out.
Oh boy, no. Okay. So we talked about actually being cognizant and recognizing when we're using alcohol when we're stressed out, right? People do that all the time, right? Because they think it's going to help them feel better. But alcohol in general is not a stimulant, it's actually a depressant. So you actually feel a little bit worse because the thing that caused the stress is still there, right? It's still there. So we have to be aware if you notice that you're drinking more, right? If if your norm was 1 beer a day, but now you're drinking 3 or 4, I mean, the little things, right? If you're drinking a glass of wine every day or 2, I mean, there are things that can help, that can signify that you're stressed, whereas you're thinking, oh, it's fine, right? It's just another beer, it's just another drink. But what's that doing? You know, we can get into the medical about alcohol, but it's just a sign that you may be stressed out if you're drinking more.
Kenya said, vacation, vacation, no alcohol.
Exactly. If we can get to vacation, Kenya.
Right. So number 10 is, as it relates to stress, we're talking about myths. It says stress is the best motivator.
I don't know if I agree with that. No, we don't want to be stressed. We don't want the stress to motivate us. But you know, I know where that comes from, right? There are some people that perform better and produce better when they're stressed, right? The college student that waits till the night before to write the paper because that stress, the adrenaline, right? It can make you maybe feel more focused. You can get it done. You can get it done quicker. So I see where that comes from, but no, we don't want that to be the norm.
Awesome. Doc Michelle, tell them how they can stay connected with you if they want to follow you.
Yes. So they can find me on Facebook at Doc Michelle or Dr. Michelle's Healthy Life Solutions. Also, they can put their contact information on in Facebook, and I will reach out to them if they have questions. But they can find me on Facebook at Doc Michelle, DOCMICHELLE.
Now, you have already given us some gems. You always come through. She's our healthy solution expert. And today we're talking about the effects of stress on your body. So can you please give us some words of wisdom?
Yes. So we've all come through a very trying year where our normal stress has been taken to the nth level because of the pandemic. It's important to acknowledge and be observant of how you're feeling. And the things that we can do to help lower our stress level as we go through this is to get exercise, try a relaxing activity, listen to music, go for a walk, take a bath, whatever that is for you. Do that thing. Stay connected with your family and friends. Talk to people, even though we've been sort of socially distant, which has been stressful for a lot of people. Important to stay connected to people, to stay in touch and get that emotional support. And then if you're feeling really stressed out and it's been months and you're just not being productive, or you're starting to feel sad and blue or extra anxious, reach out to your provider for help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Rizal says thank you. Everybody's loving this information. I appreciate you, Dr. Michelle. You already know that. We'll be back next month with our health. What is this? Monday, Health and Wellness Monday, which is Dr. Michelle. She comes every Monday faithfully, you guys. So make sure that you like, share the show, follow her. If you have any questions, again, she said, just put them in the comments so that, you know, she can address them. So Mylea said, great information. What did Kenya say? Last comment, Kenya said, she said, lastly, some people cannot afford to eat healthy. That's a show in itself, but that is so true. I totally agree with you 100%. They cannot. And Kenya is doing something nice. Kenya and her friend Lisa, they both have organizations to where they are feeding the homeless. So if you guys want to
tell me about that,
Kenya, can you put your information or reach out to Dr. Michelle with that information? But she's feeding the homeless just about every weekend. So donations would be greatly appreciated. If you can donate to her, she would appreciate that. Mylea said, great information. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna leave these words of wisdom with you. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. So join me next Monday right here at 6 p.m. on Intellectual Radio. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.